I've never been loved the way I deserve to be loved. Long read. It is challenging to determine where to start. I am a 28-year-old woman who spent my entire adolescence in social seclusion due to mental health issues, including agoraphobia, severe depression, dissociation, and anxiety. I never had friends. I was a true loner. I confronted my fears in my early 20s, and it was a struggle that I overcame with bravery and therapy. To summarize, I am a college graduate with a degree in creative writing, and in 2023, I began dating. My confidence continued to grow. I lost my virginity at 27 years old. I chose to do it simply to get it over with. I experienced everything for the first time on my inaugural date. I went from 0 to 100. I developed feelings for the guy. Unfortunately, he delivered the biggest blow via text, ending things, because I was not advanced enough in my self-discovery for him. After all the internal therapeutic work and bravery I mustered just to be intimate with him, that was my reward. He never even inquired about my life. He didn't know me at all. I retorted, expressing my hope that he enjoyed being alone in the darkness that he was not far enough along to address. He blocked me. A month later, I met my first boyfriend. Our relationship lasted for a year and 4 months, and we only met in person twice since we lived an hour apart. I truly believed that this time I was loved. I envisioned intimacy and a future with him. I gave him my most genuine and sacred healing love, yet I received almost nothing in return. He was entirely selfish. After all I sacrificed for him, I contorted my soul for him. I ended the relationship on the 482nd day of waiting for us to become intimate. I realized it was never going to happen. He knew that making love a significant experience I had never had was all I ever asked for. When we first met, he informed me that he still regarded me as a virgin because I had not made love. I attempted to bring us together repeatedly, but he made no effort at all. Both of our homes lacked privacy, so I tried to arrange a rental property. However, he was so concerned about his own comfort that he prioritized it over our relationship. He would rather stay alone in his room than share an intimate experience with his girlfriend for the first time and embark on something new and transformative together. When I left him, he told me I was too good for him, which is why he hadn't slept with me. Despite all the love I showed him, he still believed he was a freak and a pervert. He wasn't. It was as if he couldn't see my affection for him reflected in my actions and attempts at intimacy. He didn't want to hurt me, but in a cruel twist, that was exactly what he did by rejecting me. I discovered that he had been looking at trans women behind my back. I confronted him, asking if he would have gone to the rental property if a trans girl had invited him. He responded with a shame emoji, implying yes. He was only enthusiastic about me sexually when we first met, and when I was about to explore one of his kinks, which I couldn't, but I tried. Besides that, there was virtually no passion. He ignored my needs and entirely neglected our relationship. After I ended things with him, he had the audacity to ask me for help in finding a trans girlfriend. Additionally, throughout our relationship, he kept bragging about his sexual encounters with his exes. It was repulsive and extremely distressing. He sent me a plush toy with a handwritten note in the box. It brought me to tears. It resonated with my heart. It was the first gift I ever received from a boyfriend. In retrospect, it was merely a way to lead me on. Gifts should complement a fulfilled relationship, and when I received that plush toy, I anticipated the growth of our bond. Unfortunately, it never progressed. I learned that he had gone on dates with other women shortly after our breakup. Technically, he is entitled to do so, but spiritually, it is heartbreaking. In typical female fashion, I viewed the breakup as a test to see if he would fight for us. Spoiler, he did not. He was devastated when I left, but he did not put up any resistance. Instead, he was already meeting new women and enjoying himself, expending the energy I longed for. He never planned a date for us, and he even contemplated going to one of the women's homes to hook up, which was as new to him as a rental property. He treated the new women better than he ever treated me, the one who adored him, who cherished my soul and perceived its purity. Throughout that relationship, and even now, I met a man who found me on Reddit and reached out. We fell into a romantic connection. It was beautiful until he started to act distant and elusive. I can sense that I am losing him. Even if I am not losing him, he is located on the other side of the world. On Blue Sky, another man reached out to me, and we entered into what he considers a relationship. To me, it feels more like a situation. Yet again, he is always the center of attention. He doesn't ask about me or my life. He is pansexual, an echo of my ex. He is also a rather unenthusiastic texter and lacks the emotional generosity I need. Naturally, he is far away as well. Despite my efforts, I find myself alone in my room. I am tormented by isolation, yearning for a kind of love that may forever elude me. One date continues to haunt me. The man was taken aback by my petite frame the moment I got into his car, and he effectively friend-zoned me right then and there. He kept inquiring about my body, disrespecting me, and making fun of me. He resurfaced traumatic memories of bullying from my childhood. Just imagine being rejected by the one person who is supposed to love you. Even my boyfriend didn't want me. All I desire is genuine love. To me, it represents a mutually healing, understanding, and sacred exclusivity, a bond of selfless admiration for each other on a soulmate level. It encompasses the unity of emotional, intellectual, and sexual passion. It is a pressing desire. When I tried to express my discontent, my ex remarked that life is not a Disney movie. Stung by yet another blow, I told him it was not a Disney movie because of him. Had he been a true lover, I believe we could have experienced that kind of pure romance, fleeting though it may be. He underestimated my ability to transform life into pure beauty. Why does society struggle with the concept of love? Why doesn't anyone feel compelled to engage in meaningful inquiry when dating and developing feelings for someone? Why do people find pleasure in empty, meaningless sexual encounters? Why did my ex only seem excited when he imagined me engaging in activities that revolved around his desires? Why didn't he feel that kind of excitement for me? Why did he suggest that our intimacy would eventually grow stale if he truly loved me? Why did he want to involve others in our relationship? Why was I not enough? I have concluded that I am unlovable. I was merely a freak show as a child due to my pituitary dwarfism. My only friend abandoned me because he no longer wanted a relationship. I grew up entirely alone. Men only communicate with me when they appreciate the sexual content I create, and they vanish after satisfying their cravings. Valentine's Day is a fantasy of mine. So far, I have encountered 2 disappointments. My first was with my ex, who showed no regard for the significance of this day to me, a girl who had never had a Valentine. He disregarded my need for intimacy entirely and insinuated that he didn't miss me. He seemed indifferent to my physical presence. It felt as if he could take it or leave it. He was content being pen pals. Now, on this Valentine's Day, I sent heartfelt letters to the 2 men I've been communicating with. One of them expressed gratitude and complimented me, but that was all. The other one, the man across the globe, responded warmly enough but has since ceased communication. To exacerbate the situation, I have to witness my sister living out my dream. I observe her leaving to spend time with her boyfriend, who loves her enough to introduce her to his family. I watched her receive the same send-a-friend gift that my ex had given me. I saw her receive roses and a heartfelt card. I had to ask for my card last year. I observed her bringing him home for the holidays, allowing him to meet my mother. I can see the light in her spirit that I have lost in mine. "We accept the love we think we deserve" is my favorite quote from my cherished story, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I adhere to that quote. I have realized that being alone is less painful than being with someone who makes me feel alone. I also strive to embrace the message of the song, "True love will find you in the end." It brings me to tears. I have extended so much empathy, nurturing, inquiry, curiosity, and selflessness, all with an open heart. To the world, I am offering my capacity to love. I am laying bare my heart, yet no one has claimed it yet. Story 2. The story of how I got promoted to Director of Sales. Sales recruitment. I have been employed by my current company for numerous years. Even though I have resigned in the past, I have returned to them. The organization also offers an incentive. If an employee proposes a method to improve business operations or makes a change that results in a net gain for the company, they receive a share of the increased revenue or profit. Throughout my time here, I have made several significant contributions. Approximately a year ago, I was conversing with a senior manager, whom I will refer to as Bob. Bob mentioned that the company had been struggling with recruitment and the hiring of new talent for our sales department. Having experience in sales, I was aware of the challenges our structure created, including why senior representatives excelled while junior representatives struggled. I had a solid understanding of our turnover issues. Then one night, I conceived an idea to nearly completely revamp our sales structure while still retaining our senior representatives, making it easier for younger and less experienced representatives to achieve success and stability, consequently reducing turnover. I dedicated considerable time to developing this plan before presenting it to anyone, knowing that this was Bob's area of expertise. After many revisions and extensive contemplation, I reached out to Bob to share my proposal. Bob was very enthusiastic about my idea. However, he suggested a few minor adjustments and raised concerns that the company executives might have. I modified the plan, prepared counterarguments to address those concerns, and discussed my revised plan with Bob. I repeated this process several times, maintaining that about 90% of my original idea remained intact. At that point, Bob had been with our organization for decades, and I had known him throughout my entire tenure, leading me to trust that he would ensure I received credit. Given that my name was prominently featured in the presentation I sent to Bob, I anticipated he would acknowledge my contribution should any appreciation arise. I felt it necessary to have Bob as an ally for my idea to succeed, which is why I included him in the development of my plan. I followed up with Bob, and he made it seem as though my idea had been rejected, implying that the company would continue its established practices. Fine, I thought. This was not my first experience with having an idea dismissed. Fast forward a few months, and our new fiscal year begins with a company-wide meeting called by our CEO. As I sat down to watch, I witnessed the CEO commend Bob for devising an exceptional new sales structure, strategy, and compensation plan. This was, in fact, my plan but with my name omitted. The CEO praised how remarkable this idea was and expressed his belief that it would greatly benefit the organization. I was extremely frustrated and enraged that Bob appropriated my work, affixed his name to it, and claimed credit. He had betrayed my trust and deceived me, stating the company had rejected the proposal. Yet here I was, watching as my organization implemented what I had created. I contacted my vice president and vented my frustrations. My vice president, whom I will refer to as Tim, is a good person and someone I trust. Tim was surprised to learn that shortly after I presented my plan to Bob, he began pitching it to senior management, and it was almost immediately recognized as a brilliant idea. In fact, Bob was aware that the company was contemplating forcing him into retirement, as they believed he was hindering the organization's progress. My idea ultimately secured his position. To outline the depth of my plan, completely restructured compensation plan significantly altered our approach to presenting the company to prospective hires, transformed our sales training to focus more on practical realities, streamlined the sales order process to reduce workloads, utilized our existing infrastructure to implement these changes. Each step included suggestions for implementation. Bob oversaw all of this in his current capacity. I then inquired if I could provide evidence that the idea originated from me, that I had initially presented it to Bob, and so on. Bob and I had communicated via email, Facebook Messenger, and another messaging app. I meticulously sifted through our correspondence, took screenshots, created a PowerPoint presentation because it simplifies idea presentation, and shared it with my vice president. 2 days later, my vice president called to inform me that I would need to join a conference call with Human Resources, my vice president, and the CEO. During that meeting, we discussed the plan I had developed, my collaboration with Bob, and my implementation strategy. I also presented the research I had conducted, which Bob did not have access to, and justified why my proposal was beneficial. The CEO appeared impressed with my work and became convinced that I was indeed the actual creator. When asked for my perspective on what had transpired, I directly accused Bob of stealing my idea and erasing my name in an effort to advance his own career. I was informed that a separate meeting with Bob would take place, and afterwards, I would be updated on any developments. A week later, my vice president called to ask if I would be willing to accept an offer to implement my plan. This was clearly an advancement in my career, and I responded positively. 2 weeks later, I received a call from my vice president telling me he was coming to my location for a visit and suggested I look sharp and presentable. I tried to ascertain the reason for his visit, but he remained elusive. 2 days later, I arrived at the office and checked my email. Typically, major retirements and resignations are announced company-wide. I noticed an email declaring that Bob had retired. What struck me as odd was that the retirement was effective immediately and that a replacement would be announced shortly. Normally, there is a transition period before a successor is named, along with a brief overview of their qualifications. The time for my vice president's arrival came, and in walked both my vice president and the CEO. We went out to lunch, during which the CEO said, "I came to see you because I believe it is best to deliver significant promotions in person. I would like to offer you the position of Director of Sales Recruitment and place you in charge of implementing your idea," which I gratefully accepted. I then asked, "Is this why Bob, retired?" The CEO smiled and replied, "After discussing with you, Bob, and senior management, it was concluded that a change was necessary. It was time to introduce new perspectives into our organization, and Bob expressed a desire to begin his retirement, so this was the best course of action for everyone." I smiled and thanked him, fully aware that Bob had no intention of retiring anytime soon.